Hi, thanks for joining us. Today I'm talking with Simon Blanchflower from Altrinsic Global Advisors about the automatic opportunity. Welcome, Simon.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Jason.
What do you actually mean by the automatic opportunity?
Well, it's really the ongoing developments in the tech space where we'll see further developments in automation, as simple as that. Now, automation's been around for many years, of course, but with big data now becoming a huge theme, plenty of data in the cloud, for example, and computing power becoming ever greater at lower cost, there's much more opportunity to automate a lot more things than we did in the past.
So is it the big data that is the big change from the internet revolution, say 15, 20 years ago?
Exactly. I mean, it's really, you could almost say it's the internet revolution 2.0 in that, we've been using, we're using iPhones, smartphones, obviously computers, iPads, and every time we're talking to each other through social media, we're generating more and more data, creating massive amount of data in the cloud. And the more data there is, the more accurate some of the automation initiatives can become.
So how do you see this opportunity evolving over the coming years, Simon?
Well, it is a huge opportunity as far as automation is concerned. McKinsey came out with a report earlier in the year that suggested that 60% of all occupations will have 30% of their tasks automatable. So that translates into quite big numbers as far as labour is concerned. So roughly 1 billion full-time employee equivalents and around about $16 trillion in wages. So very, very big numbers. The question is what happens to all that labour? And that's something we don't know at this point. It's often harder to predict, what industries, what other careers will be made available because of these changes.
There's definitely been an acceleration in the pace of change. How do you think we're going to deal with this acceleration in change?
Yeah, it certainly will be one thing that will hit us quite quickly. And I think human beings have a great ability to overestimate what we can do perhaps over the next year, but grossly underestimate what we can do over 10 years. So I think it will hit us quite quickly, quite surprisingly. What we don't know, of course, is through this automation is what other opportunities or industries or jobs will be created, even though some will obviously be reduced.
Well, that's a good point. So what opportunities do you think this provides a fund manager such as Altrinsic?
Well, for us, really, there's two ways to think about this because it is very disruptive. And I think either we invest in the disruptors or you avoid the losers. And sometimes it's not easy to pick the disruptors. There's many cases in history where that's not been an easy thing to do. It's much easier to avoid the losers.
I notice in what you've written, and I'm particularly interested in this intersection between healthcare and technology. Can you elaborate a bit further on that? Yeah, sure. I mean, there's two big parts to that. One is the collapse of the cost of sequencing a human genome and what that means for the big data in terms of human genetic information that's out there. The more data out there, the more likelihood it is that different labs all around the world are going to create associations between genetic differences or mutations and disease. That's a very important point in terms of learning more about human biology. The other is simply using artificial intelligence techniques to identify things like cancer or different types of biopsies. For example, recently Google used an artificial intelligence method which has been used to identify cats in videos. That particular method is actually good at identifying skin cancers as well, for example. Okay, and just in general as a fund manager, how does Altrinsic deal with periods of change? Well, for us, the most important thing really is being embedded in industry food chains. Just staying close to our companies, doing our bottom-up research, and just connecting multiple dots and having that strong sort of 360 perspective. That's the most important thing for us. Great. Well, many thanks for your time today, Simon. Oh, thank you, Jason. And thank you for your time today.